Hey guys, quick observation. I think I found another piece of the puzzle when it comes to trying to figure out why the Latinos voted against their own interests. Latinos, Hispanics, all of them. I've been hearing these reports come in that the Latino Hispanic community actually believed that African Americans, us, were immigrants, and that all of this immigrant mass deportation of the immigrants, they were thinking, since we were the immigrants, that we would be the ones deported.
What do you mean y'all thought we were immigrants? Y'all thought black people, black Americans, African Americans, blacks, us, were immigrants. The hardest lessons, clearly, it's going to take me a long time to learn and figure out is that other people just don't know what I know. I assume that a lot of people know what I know. That's why y'all keep saying that, huh? That makes sense, I guess. The we're next. Y'all think, what? How do y'all not know how long we've been a part of this country? Black people fought in the Crispus Attucks. Did everybody not, at my little church, every Black History Month, there was this huge thing. I'll never forget when I came to my grandma's house. It was a huge package, and it was all of these cards. They were ABC cards, but on every card, letter of the alphabet, and an important person from Black history. And that was what we did all February at Sunday school. Like, we learned those cards. We would have to, and then we'd line up at like the Black History program, and we'd have to read them out loud. So I guess I just assumed, oh my God.
As Latinos, we need to have more empathy for the Cubans being wrongly deported, because no, we don't, okay? This is exactly what you wanted. Inadvertently, you voted for this, all right? I'm reminded of that little jingle, I will vote for Donald Trump. And now
he wants to keep helping Latinos in the U.S. Let's do things the right way, and let's keep growing. Let's keep growing as a family, and let's make America great again.
Necesitamos a Trump. Let's make America great again.
A lot of Latinos, we stand strong next to President Trump. Let's make America great again. Let's go.
I'm just happy we in good hands. I know this 4 years is going to be one hell of a run. I know he's going to do a lot of great things for the whole Spanish community. Especially, we're going to make America great again.
I'm glad I gave that vote to Mr. Trump, and me and Anuel AA are here supporting. Que viva Puerto Rico, and let's make America great again.
Congratulations, President Trump.
We need you. We need you back, right?
Do you know who they are? Do you know who the hell they are? Come up here, just fast, fellas, come on. Because I don't know if these people know who the hell you are. But it's good for the Puerto Rican vote.
Let's start with something that should never be up for debate. Black Americans are not immigrants. They didn't choose to go to America. They didn't cross borders or stand in visa lines. They were stolen, they were trafficked, they were shackled and forced into ships arriving on the island, centuries before the founding of many countries whose people now call America home. This isn't conjecture, this is documented history. But somehow in 2025, we are witnessing one of those most bizarre and heartbreaking misunderstandings in modern political discourse. The belief by some in the Latino and Hispanic communities that Black Americans are immigrants subject to deportation. Yes, you heard that right. There are people who genuinely believe that Black Americans whose blood built America from foundation up are there illegally, that they can be removed, that they are not native to that soil. And that misconception isn't just a social mistake, it's a political strategy. Because based on that lie, some folks thought they were casting a vote against their enemies when they really voted against themselves. Some people, fueled by anti-Black sentiment and wrapped in layers of misinformation, supported policies they thought would remove Black Americans from that country. They saw those build the wall chants, those ICE raids, and those mass deportation policies as tools to eliminate the people they resent most. But they fail to realize Black Americans are protected by law, by the Constitution, by the 14th Amendment. They are not deportable. They are not removable. They are citizens, often more American than many who oppose them. And the outcome? Those same policies backfired. Deportations happened, but not to Black Americans. No, the targets became the very communities who cheered for the crackdown. Cubans, Dominicans, Mexicans, Central Americans, people who assumed they were safe. People like Navi, a Cuban janitor proud to be American who found himself deported under the very administration he supported. And now there is outrage, there is confusion, but where was that empathy when people thought Black Americans were on the chopping block? Where was the concern when the assumption was that we would be the ones getting removed? Gone, non-existent, because for some, anti-Blackness ran so deep, they are willing to gamble their own safety just to see Black people suffer.
Now, my first question is, how the hell did y'all come up with that African Americans are immigrants? We're not immigrants. We didn't come here on our own. We didn't cross any border on our own. We didn't do that. Excuse me. We were stolen. We were bought here. We were brought here. We are not immigrants because we were brought here and then our ancestors procreated. We are citizens. We've been in this country long enough that we are citizens. The immigrant status does not apply to us. And because you guys were so uneducated, and I don't know who you were listening to, but you believe anything when it comes to Black people. Your anti-Blackness egged you on to believe this foolery that we're immigrants. Not once has African Americans been described as immigrants. Who told y'all that? And why the hell are you stupid enough to take their word? All you had to do was Google. Bam, right there. There's your answer. But it's been reported a lot of them really and truly honestly felt that way. And they thought we were the immigrants they were talking about. And because they have no love lost for us, they were cool with that. Yeah, I'm down with that. That's why that 68 or 78% of Latinos in Florida, that's why over 50% of the entire community voted for Trump.
You voted yourselves out. You voted your family members out by voting him in. You thought that it was only going to be los negritos, the ones that look like me that were going to be, deported, okay? And no. See, I know a Cuban guy. I knew a Cuban guy up until last week. His name was Usnavi. And if you know Cubans, there's always one of them named Usnavi. When your name is literally spelled out U.S. Navy and you have U.S. agents cuffing you, y tú estás, ¿qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? Que te va pa'l carajo ahora, eh? And this dude was a janitor, but janitor in New Jersey, you can make a lot of money. He had a pickup truck. Él tenía su banderita gringa, tú me entiendes. He was very proud to be an American. Come to find out que te enviaron pa' Cuba de nuevo. It's hilarious and at the same time it's upsetting. I've always gotten along con lo que no son niega raza. The people that are Latin, Caribbean, that don't deny their Blackness. ¿Por qué? Because our ancestors over here in this country used to hang together.
Let's break this down. The belief that Black Americans are immigrants isn't just wrong, it's insulting. It reflects a complete detachment from American history. Black people have been there since the 1500s, before Ellis Island, before the Mayflower, before that country even had a flag. Black Americans fought in every war. American Revolution, Civil War, World Wars, and paid taxes long before many other groups were even allowed in. The Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 legally recognized Black Americans as citizens, and the 14th Amendment sealed it. So how in 2025 are there still people who think Black Americans don't belong there? The answer is as ugly as it's simple: anti-Blackness and ignorance. Some of this comes from a desire to distance oneself from Blackness, to align more closely with whiteness or Americanness in the eyes of the dominant culture. Some of it is internalized colonialism, absorbing the same anti-Black propaganda that's been used for centuries to divide, conquer, and control. And some of it, it's just pure neglect. Neglect to open a book, to Google, to ask a question. What's worse is that this misinterpretation fueled actual political action. It's been said that a significant number of Latino and Hispanic voters cast their ballots for Donald Trump because they thought he was targeting black people, not them. That he was going to cleanse America of the others, and that somehow they would be safe. But history has never spared anyone who enabled oppression. The same net you cast will eventually be used to catch you. That's not poetic justice, that's predictable consequences. These voters thought they were voting for someone who would deport black Americans, but the reality is black Americans can't be deported. They never could. You can't deport a people who are born there for 10 generations. You can't deport people who bled into that land, who fought and died for that country, who are constitutionally, legally, and culturally American. What happened instead? You voted yourself out. You paved the road for your own communities to be raided, detained, separated from their children, and shipped off to places they barely remember. And now when the consequences hit home, you're shocked?
So I'm going to throw my hat in this too and just say that I agree with all of the black creators that are saying that all of these other folk thought that black Americans were immigrants. And that when they was voting for Trump, they thought that we would be deported, and that does have something to do with why they keep saying that we're next, because they don't quite understand that we are not immigrants. Okay, the last time in American history that they tried to send black people back to Africa, okay, was in the 1800s. Okay, this was after emancipation, when they were like, hey, you know, those of you that want to stay here, y'all can stay here, and then those of you who want to leave, here's $100. That's what they gave them at the time, was $100, and y'all can leave. Okay, and some of them went over to Liberia, and some of them went to the Bahamas. The Gullah Geechee went to the Bahamas. Okay, some of them, not all of them. A lot of them still sitting in Charleston, still sitting on the Sea Islands right now. Okay, so I think they didn't understand that. I realized further that they didn't understand that when they decided that the community they was going to come to ask for support in this here immigration shindig was the black community, when we know the absolute least about immigration. Like, we don't even know anything about it. We don't know how the laws work. We don't know none of that. We don't have any experience with it at all. At all. Our families have been here since like the 1500s. we don't know nothing about the shit. Okay? And our families have been officially Americans since 1863. Like, we have nothing, no information for you. We don't know anything to tell you. Okay? And we are also protected by law. We are protected by the Constitution. I don't think they understand that. We are literally protected by the Constitution. Okay? So it made no sense. It didn't make no sense. But I agree with what y'all saying, though. They did not know that. I don't think they quite understood or knew that. And then also, when it comes to black immigrant population, per the data from the government statistical data, 4.5 million of immigrants are black. 4.5 from African and Caribbean countries. Okay? So I would estimate their population, guesstimated at being, including their children, I would guesstimate it at being no more than 15 million people. Out of a country of 300 million people, there's only 15 million of them that are black immigrants or first or second gen. Like, they ain't even on their way to like 4, 5, 6 gens yet. So, okay. Don't do this dumbass shit again if you think that it's going to be black people. Okay, if you think it's going to be black Americans. Don't do this dumbass shit no more. Have a good day.
Let's talk about betrayal, because that's what this feels like. A betrayal of solidarity, a betrayal of history, a betrayal of alliance. Black Americans have stood on the front lines of every justice movement in that country. And do you know who benefited from that work? Immigrants. Yes, immigrants. Latino immigrants, Caribbean immigrants, Asian immigrants, all of them. The rights they enjoy today, the right to exist there, to build lives there, to raise families there, were made possible in part because black people fought like hell for them. The Civil Rights Act, the 14th Amendment, voting rights, anti-discrimination laws, all that came from the sweat and sacrifice of black leaders and communities who demanded justice, not just for themselves, but for anyone oppressed by the system. And in return, some among these communities cast black Americans as the enemy. They believed lies. They swallowed anti-black propaganda whole and tried to weaponize it at the ballot box. They sold black Americans out, and in doing so, sold themselves out. Let me be very clear. Not all Latinos or Hispanic fall into this category. Many are staunch allies. Many know the history. Many stood side by side with Black Americans in the struggle. But we can't pretend that this delusion doesn't exist in significant numbers. We can't pretend this betrayal didn't happen. We can't ignore that a coalition was severed because some people refused to educate themselves. There's a deep irony here. While certain people try to erase Black Americans were the reason they were able to go there in the first place. Without Black struggle, the gates wouldn't have opened wide enough for anyone else to walk through. So, what happens now? Well, trust has been broken, and you don't rebuild trust with silence. You rebuild it with truth, with accountability, with honesty. You start by acknowledging the lie, acknowledging that Black Americans are not immigrants, acknowledging that the attempt to treat Black people like deportable strangers was rooted in ignorance and anti-Blackness. Acknowledge the pain that caused not just to Black Americans but now to your own families who face the consequences of your own misinformed decisions. Black people don't owe anyone empathy just because your plan backfired. That's not how accountability works. You can't come crying after realizing the bomb you set for someone else blew up in your own face. Empathy must be earned. Respect must be mutual, and alliances must be based on truth and not delusion. It's time for people to learn, to really learn, not from memes, not from racist uncles at family dinners, not from anti-Black rhetoric passed down through generations. Learn from history, learn from textbook, learn from listening. Black Americans are Americans, full stop. Guys, drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are about this. Also remember to subscribe, like, and share as well. And until next time, bye-bye.